All right, let's get started. Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. This is the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. This is the October 16th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission, ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Selectmen's Conference Room, 2nd floor, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. This meeting of October 16th, 2024 is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, the Chair must inquire as to whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Takers? All right. I am going to ask everyone to turn off their cell phones or to put them on vibrate or whatever it is you do, just so that it doesn't disturb any of the speakers. Thank you. All right, calling the meeting to order. Commissioner Perry Wentworth. Here. Commissioner Conrad Watson.
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Cornelius Crowley.
Here.
Commissioner Jennifer Hinckley Needham.
Here.
Commissioner Matthew Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Laura Cronin.
Here.
Commissioner Jack Kay.
Here.
Commissioner Tom Doherty.
Here.
And I, Commissioner Cheryl Powlett, am also here. We have a full house tonight. Hey, thank you everybody for coming. So it's called to order. I also want to say a special thank you to our town council liaison, town councilor Charles. Oh, there you are, over there. You changed corners this time. Welcome, and thank you for coming. Can I also ask staff to please identify themselves?
Peter Admin Assistant, Planning and Development.
Corey Pacheco, Senior Planner, Planning and Development.
And Jim Cupford, Director of Planning.
Thank you very much. We are now called to order. So I want to read our purpose again, just so we're clear from our ordinance. The purpose of this commission, which was formed in 1996. The purpose of this article is to promote the educational, cultural, economic, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Barnstable and the town's unique community character through the preservation and protection of the distinctive characteristics of building structures and places significant in the history and architecture of Barnstable, and through the preservation, maintenance, improvement of appropriate settings for such buildings, structures, and places, and the encouragement of new design which is compatible with the existing historical and community character, and through the benefits resulting to the economy of said town by preserving and enhancing the amenities and the historical aspects of the various villages and areas which make Barnstable a desirable place to live and for tourists to visit. That is our purview. Okay, that said, first up tonight is, let's get this over down here, Mary George and Anastasia, did I pronounce this right? Anastasia, I apologize. Pasella, DBA, The Cordial Eye, 430 to 436 Main Street, Hyannis, map 309, parcel 219, with regard to a mural. Please note that this is continued from the August 21, 2024, and October 3rd, 2024 meetings. Tonight, voting on this, although all can participate in the discussion, voting on this will be myself, Commissioner Doherty, Commissioner Kay, Commissioner Cronin, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Matthews, and Commissioner Hinckley Needham. If anyone has any reason that they feel they need to recuse, then please make their presence known.
I don't know if I'm voting, but I have a conflict.
Okay, that's fine. If you feel you'd like to remain, that's fine. Oftentimes people will step out. We should have brought you a coffee if you're going to step out. Sorry.
I'll stay.
Okay, that's fine.
Just a point of order.
Yes.
I know a vote was taken last time, but I believe a vote was taken last time. What was the motion that was affirmed last time?
It was to continue it to this meeting so that we could address the, I think basically it was expressed by most, if not all, the commissioners that they were concerned about the actual slogan. That was the key thing. So it was, rather than vote on it then, after there had been an expression of not really happy with that slogan, let's give them an opportunity to come back and to readdress that. And I note that yesterday, the 15th, we did receive those items, and so most people should have gone through them. They were on the town website. So anyway, so that's it. Oh, I'm sorry, did I answer that question
Yes,
appropriately?
yes.
Okay.
I wasn't clear. Thank you.
Oh, that's fine. And I believe I am correct on that, according to staff?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, so if you want to come forward, sign in. I'll give you that one.
Or you can just write MJ and I'll fill it in later for you with the baby. That's totally, or MG, that's totally fine.
Do you want a footprint?
No,
Oh,
it's fine.
it's okay, we don't bite, I promise.
Get a tooth coming in. She's not a happy camper. And Anastasia's en route. She had a detour on her way here from Marston's Mills, so she'll be arriving any second now. Okay. All right. Good evening.
Okay, so what did you want to tell us about the additional things?
Yeah, so we did.
Not starting all over at the beginning, now we know what we're talking about.
I think we can pick up from where we left off, which was wanting to find a quote that felt comfortable for everybody. And so we did quite a little bit of research on this. And I wonder, actually, Erica, would you mind saying a few words? So Erica is a member of the Arts and Justice Club.
If Erica could also sign in.
But just to give her a brief intro, Erica's.
I'll ask anyone who's presenting to please sign in.
Erica can introduce herself, but she's part of the Arts and Justice Collective team, which is the collaboration that is producing this mural. And she did quite a bit of research for us on some archival material involving Eugenia Forts. And so can explain a little bit about the context.
Yes, hi. Good evening. I just ran in here. Okay, so I pulled this up from the digital archives of the historymakers.org, and it's a archive developed by Carnegie Mellon University. I'm just reading from the website, but it provides unique access to thousands of African American lives. It's a virtual who's who of the African American community. Eugenia Forts, I guess, was one of the subjects that they did a full, I'm not sure how many hours of an interview, but it's at least a couple hours of interviews with her with transcripts available. So I was reading this over the weekend and found something where she spoke of her, where the interviewer asked her about her legacy. You know, what is your legacy to you? And the quote that really resonated with all of us was, do you want to hear it now? Or do we want to show the...
Go ahead. I think everybody has.
Oh,
you have it,
And
okay.
I think we have more than one as
So
well.
the context of this quote exactly is the question to her was, you know, what is your legacy to you? And so she said, I've only done what I felt. She said, I've only done, as I've told everybody, what I felt I had to do. 'Twas me and my conscience and my heart. And we all, you know, had chills when we read it and also felt that it encapsulated sort of her spirit. And it's very personal because it's what drove her to do the work that she did. Okay. I don't know if there's any questions I can answer.
When did she say that?
I think it was,
Curiosity.
yes, I'm going to pull it up. I believe it was a 2004 interview.
So 2 years before her passing.
Yeah, but I will double check that for you.
I didn't mean to corner you or anything. I thought you had off the top of your head.
I'm pretty sure that was it, but I wasn't planning to speak. But I'm okay. Do Do you want to sit, and I'll pull that up?
She wants to stand.
She wants to stand, okay.
I didn't offer you a chair, because every time I offer you a chair, this little one doesn't let you sit in it, so
And she's the boss. She's definitely the boss.
they always are.
Yep, I was right. August 21, 2004.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her favorite color is red. Her favorite food is soup, kale soup. Her favorite time of year is fall,
Kale soup.
kale soup.
Amen.
And her favorite vacation spot is anywhere. So, okay.
Thank you very much.
We really liked this quote and thought that it proposed a good kind of middle ground to everybody's concerns in this group. We thought that it sort of gestured toward the quote that Commissioner Matthews had offered up last time, which is do whatever your heart tells you. But we appreciated that this quote, we felt, had a little bit more of the context of why her heart was telling her what it was, and that had to do with, her conscience and her sense of justice. And so we feel that this meets kind of all of our requests around something uplifting and inspirational, but also is true and in her literal own words, what she believed her legacy to be. Yeah, and so we have sort of a longer form of it and a shorter form of it, and those are our proposals.
Okay.
Let me hop back in. I just remembered something. If you look at the full interview or that whole script, she actually starts with, when the interviewer asks, what is your legacy? She starts with, I have no legacy, meaning I only did what I felt I had to do.
Which
So
was her legacy?
exactly. Yeah. I just wanted to add that.
Anything more? Anyone else on presentation? But not public comment, but presentation. Nope. Okay. Because we've already gone over the actual, because nothing else has changed, right? It's still the same building, it's still the same proposal.
Correct.
So we don't need to go over all that, it's just the other. If no one minds, I'm going to combine the further questions and the deliberation to put them together and just see if we can get the public comments. Is everyone okay with that?
So you want to do public comment first?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Any objections to that? Okay, so I'm going to open it up to public comment. And Commissioner Clark is going to time 3 minutes, please. Anyone who has already spoken at the last time there's a presentation, if you're just going to say the same thing, please bear in mind there's a lot of people to speak. We have that. We know what their information is. But if you have new things you want to say, please come before us. Sign in and state your name if you would, please, so we know who we're listening from. You all, come on up.
Here first, I got here.
I think you did get here first. Didn't you beat me
I did.
here?
Yes,
I thought you did. Well done.
I'm determined. Eugenia kind of taught me well. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynn Rhodes. I am the second female president of the NAACP of the Cape Cod branch. Eugenia was the first one. She was actually one of the founding members. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. I think this panel took that statement the second tone that I said it. When I read that statement, I heard the first, progress is not being made.
Take your time.
Eugenia Forts. I'm a legacy person of the NAACP. My father was a member. I'm the 7th president of our unit. Our unit has had trials and tribulations. Mrs. Kennedy funeral in Washington was today. Eugenia has a great legacy. Back in 1961, there were a busload of families shipped from the South here to Hyannis with the guise of the president has jobs for you and places to live. When people arrived here, one family with 9 kids, there were no jobs, there were no place for them to live. Eugenia Forts, Martha Mosley, Joe DeLuz, Dolores DeLuz, many others, Ted Kennedy, got together to decide and make a plan to find places for these people to live, these places for people to work. She rented her house out to Martin Luther King Jr. for him to come on vacations here. For our first African American,
At 30 seconds, miss.
Thurgood Marshall, who is a Supreme Court justice. He had a place to stay. She has a beach named after her. How many people knew about her before this project? 1 out of how many?
No, I did as well.
All of us did. All of us did.
Well,
We were taking a vote.
I'm talking about in the
All of us
general
did.
public.
All right, that's 3 minutes.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Next. Welcome. I can ask you to sign in and then state your name, please.
Do both, thank you.
Thank you.
Does it matter that I'm from Centerville?
That's my town. Nothing wrong with that. Village, I should say.
Good correction.
Good evening, and thank you for your patience. Yes, start the clock. I want those 10 seconds of laughter back. I'm Admiral Harold Robinson. Prior to my mobilization for the Navy after 9/11, I was the rabbi at the Cape Cod Synagogue for 21 years. So I have, and we maintained our residence during my naval service and my Marine Corps service. I knew Eugenia, and I arrived on the Cape. I'm a wash ashore, I admit it, although my daughter is sand in her shoes. I arrived on the Cape in 1977. And it was a different Cape in many important, although subtle, not easily noticed ways. Our opportunity here tonight is to recognize that the Cape is a better place because of people like Eugenia who were willing to stand up at enormous penalty to themselves, an enormous cost, and say, we have not yet fulfilled our full legacy. We have not yet fulfilled the American dream. We're fulfilling it, but we can do it even better. We can rise above where we are at this moment. And whatever quote we take, let's understand that Eugenia was operating in a context that was inherently hostile in many, many subtle ways that I, as a Caucasian, might not always have noticed, but were absolutely present. As the president of the Navy Policy Board, I got educated about kinds of discrimination that I was immune to, that I glided through life being unaware of, and had to make decisions for the Navy, the Department of the Navy, and, oh yes, the Marine Corps, on the basis of new understanding of life that people like Eugenia helped provide me. It was a very precious legacy that we have. We have a strange feeling in the United States that there is our U.S. American history, and then there is African American history. But in fact, those African Americans are part of our history as much as Scotch-Irish have been part of our history, as much as the Jewish community, the Italian community. It's all American history, and Eugenia helped educate us to that in her own unsubtle way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service, Admiral.
Thank you.
guys.
My father was also a Navy guy.
We'll drink a beer ashore. Anchors away. That's, we'll drink to the foam is part of that.
It was World War II, and he only got in because he lied about his age. He was actually 16, but he was in.
I thank you for having a dad who serves. It's very precious.
Thank you. Thank you for your ouch you had to present. Okay, anyone else? Thank you.
Hello. Hi.
State your name.
Sure.
Please.
My name's Christina Silva. I'm a Hyannis resident. I grew up here. I'm here to speak more about the Cape and less about who the art is about or who it stands for. I actually wrote up so that I didn't get off track and get over the time. Our own Cape Cod Chamber website states that there are 6 cultural districts in Cape Cod: Sandwich Glass Town, Barnstable Village, Harwich, Hyannis, the High Arts, Orleans, Provincetown, and Wellfleet. The page also accurately states that then and now, people come to find inspiration in Cape Cod's incomparable natural beauty, including a long, impressive list of writers, musicians, craftsmen, and fine artists who are drawn to Cape Cod specifically to create. The one thing that this page, or any other local page for that matter, does not state is their interpretation of life on the Cape. It does not leave room to consider perspectives. It just simply states that people from all over the world come here and feel inspired. What a truly beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing is that they're embracing the beauty and comfort of the Cape and calling it home. What's not so beautiful are the parameters set on beauty and what art is. In the dictionary, art has 2 meanings. The first being the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. And the second, the various branches of creative activity, such as painting, music, literature, and dance, the visual arts. The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. The inclusion of creative, culturally sensitive art promotes a feeling of belonging to those who may not otherwise get the feeling from the beach, lighthouse, or an ocean scene painted on the walls. We are more than beaches and sea creatures. We are African Americans. We are Brazilians. We are Latinos and Latinas. We are Cape Verdeans. We are Jamaicans. We are Filipinas, and this is our home. We deserve to be proud of the artwork we see and feel that sense of belonging and hope that you feel when you see the classic Cape Cod art. Everyone should feel represented, and having art such as this mural shown with pride in a public space is a step in the right direction. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to be next?
May I read a letter that was sent to me instead of Karen?
One I didn't get.
Yes, is that okay?
You knew about it? So we can consider it
It
as,
didn't come to me, how could I possibly know?
well, I just thought we'd say one I didn't know about. Okay. I don't have any problems admitting the letter, if that's okay with the rest of the commission. Okay, please go ahead.
Do I sign?
Yes, if you could, please.
The writer in?
It's a good question.
No, if you can give me their name, I'll put it
Okay.
in the minutes.
Yeah, put it in the minutes.
So their name is Annie Giannetti. And
How do you spell that?
Giannetti.
Yep.
Giannetti.
Okay.
Before you start, can you sign in and tell us who you are?
As myself? Okay.
Yes, please.
So my name is Anastasia Pacella. Okay, so she writes, "Hello, I am a former resident of Hyannisport. I currently live in Dennis and work in Hyannis and Centerville. I graduated Barnstable High School in Hyannis in 2013. I've spent decades working with many local community organizations, including the Cordial Eye. When I lived in Hyannisport, I frequently went to Eugenia Fort's beach. I always incorrectly assumed she was related to a Kennedy. I only recently learned of her remarkable, courageous history through this proposed mural in her honor. I say this to add to the one of many reasons that this mural should not feature RFK or JFK. Not only do we have so many monuments and museums dedicated to the Kennedys, I believe featuring them in this context would misconstrue Eugenia's humble and transformative historical mural. She fought for everyone to be included in public maritime space, not just a select group of the public. Public art is such a wonderful opportunity to transform a neglected space or even ordinary wall into something both beautiful and powerfully educational. Thank you for your time, and thank you to the friend that is reading this on my behalf, Annie Giannetti."
Next. Hi. Hi.
Hi, my name is Margot Critchfield.
Hi.
I am a retired Episcopal priest, a member of the NAACP Cape Cod, and an artist. And when I woke up this morning, I had never heard of Eugenia Fortes. Yeah. And I have pretty much dedicated my life since 2014 to learning accurate American history rather than what I was taught in school. But no, I had never, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I'd never heard of her. And thankfully got an email from Lynn and the NAACP alerting us all to this project. And I then Googled, needed to find out who is this woman, and Googled her and was just blown away and so impressed and so grateful to the collaborative to have brought this forward as a project for the town. I actually live in Sandwich. I'm in the Glasstown Historic District, so I'm not a resident here. But the fact that I woke up this morning not having any idea who this woman was is reason enough, as far as I'm concerned, to have this mural, because I'm not alone. I am sure there are many, many, many white men and women just like me who have never heard of her and need to know about her. So I would love to just urge you to approve this incredible mural. And I think the quote that was presented tonight is so beautiful and so perfect and so inspirational. It's personal and it gives voice to what we all should be feeling and motivated by. So that's really all I have. I don't want, I want people to see that mural and go to bed like I'm going to go to bed tonight saying, I'm so glad that I now know about this woman. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bored the little one, or, you know, we seem to put her asleep every time. Next, please.
You want to do the letters?
Let's go ahead and anyone else. Okay, yes. So.
I'll go.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We try to give the public comment a chance to speak before we read the letters. Because
sure.
You've actually come in.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Right under the wire, I guess. Hi, my name is Tamora Israel. I'm here because I'm an artist and I care about art. I'm a black artist living on Cape Cod, and it's lonely. Having a piece of art anywhere for all of Cape Cod to see with a picture that looks like me is everything. I've never seen it here, and I've been here for 16 years, and I love it here. I'm not going nowhere. I want to be here. But I also want to be represented. I want to see people who look like me, because Cape Cod is not just the Kennedys, which I understand they were great. You know what? I'm not even going down that road. I'm just saying that as a black woman, lesbian artist who has been living and working and loving here, it is important for me to see progress in the place that I live, to see more than what I've always seen, to see this place change and evolve the way it's supposed to naturally, to not stay the same. Same is boring. We've been doing the same, and here we are. So let's just do something different, because why the hell not? And it's a beautiful mural. The quote, I think, can help all of us to think deeper about who we are and what we want to leave behind. And I think having this mural is what we need for Cape Codders to better understand each other and ask more questions about each other, be curious about each other. I think this is a step in the right direction for us. And I hope you vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next.
Okay, I will come back. I'll leave public comment open, but right now, since nobody's coming forward, we have some letters to go through. Unless anyone has a dying urge to come up right now, I'll let you think about if you have anything to say. We'll read the letters, and I'll come back to public comment, if that's all right with everybody. Okay, Commissioner Wentworth, can I pick on you first? Why don't you read the one from, it doesn't say who it is from. Jay Baradi? Barabrad? Thank you.
I first met Eugenia Forts in 1962. While the Cape is not a perfect place with regard to opportunities for people of color, it is far different than in 1962. Just compare elected officials or the ease of being served in restaurants. Eugenia Forts had a hand in all of that. In the summer of 1962, the governor of Arkansas sent reverse Freedom Riders to the home of the Kennedys, and Eugenia called on Ted to come to her house to hear the workers, NAACP, and others who were trying to address the arrival's needs. The Kennedys worked on a country and world scale, but Eugenia had more to do with change on Cape Cod. I believe you can trace the actions of the Kennedys, the actions the Kennedys took on equity matters, particularly on an individual basis. For example, his appointment to diplomatic post of Carl Rowan. To the influence of their boyhoods of Ms. Forts. She loved to tell the story of the time she was tasked with supervising a teenage Jack Kennedy and his friend to ensure they properly spread manure around plants before driving off. Now, that would make a great mural. That would say a lot about both persons. I could go on for pages, but time is short. Please complete the mural in a way that honors her life and encourage others to continue the struggle for, as she would say, fairness.
Thank you, Commissioner Wentworth. Would somebody like to read the one from Ms. Norris?
Sure.
Who?
Norris, Sally Norris, the Reverend Sally Norris.
Reverend Sally Norris.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Dear Mrs. Pina, my name is Reverend Sally Norris, and I serve as minister of South Congregational Church in Centerville. I'm writing to support the public art mural proposed by the Arts and Justice Collective, the Cordial Eye, Amplify POC, and Belonging Books, which will be created to honor Eugenia Fortes. Eugenia Fortes was a courageous and tireless racial justice advocate on Cape Cod. She deserves this public recognition. She was an important historical figure on Cape Cod, and hence this mural should be in the Hyannis Historic District. This mural will educate about Eugenia Fortes' powerful legacy and challenge us to listen to and lift up the voices on Cape Cod. It is my sincere hope that the Historical Commission will support this project and work closely with the leader of the Arts and Justice Collective to make it happen. Please know that this letter represents my personal opinion only. Sincerely, Sally Norris.
Thank you, Commissioner Kay, for reading that. Another commissioner like, Commissioner Cronin?
Celestia Billington. Hello, my name is Celestina Billington, and my family owns a home in Chatham. Therefore, we hope we have some say about what goes on with the same county, Barnstable. I'm writing to express my support for the 436 Main Street mural, featuring a real quote from an important Cape Cod figure. The history of folks like Eugenia Fortes is in alignment with the broader American history and our history. Best.
Thank you very much. Do I have a taker for?
I can do that. It's just this one
Okay,
sentence.
thank you. Oh, yeah, yeah, of course.
From Karen, Watson, Estelle, and Brewster. I support the mural proposed honoring Eugenia Fortes.
Thank you very much. I think that covers all the written communication that we received. It's been taken into account. Any others in public comment? Nope. All right. Any staff reports on this?
No additional comments other than the fact that you have before you essentially two quotes. They are one quote, but one is shorter than the other. So getting an understanding of which quote you would like to proceed with in discussions for a vote. And then if a vote in the affirmative is made, just again, from the initial staff report, just a condition that access is provided prior to installation of mural. Again, that alleyway is on another property. So having that, just a condition would suffice that the abutting property owner had given access.
Point of order on that. Are you saying you need some kind of a writing or a written statement from that property owner to say it's okay? Is that what we're talking about?
That would be preferable, okay. Yes.
Gotcha.
Because you need access to
gotcha.
that wall.
I'm pretty rigid on that one. So
yeah. Okay.
You have to dot your I's and cross your T's. So other commissioners, Jack, I think you had something you wanted to say. You had done a kind of walk by.
Yeah, I have listened for a number of these meetings now to what all of us agree with, is that no one is singling out the topic of this mural as inappropriate or shouldn't be in this historic commission. And I'd love to see it on the wall. It's the wrong wall. This statement should be in a much more public place where it has more exposure and where people are going to actually be able to appreciate it. Right now, this alley is an ice cream cone. It tapers down to a 6-foot opening at Main Street. It certainly misrepresents what your mission here is and what your statement is. I think that you should have this mural. I think you should find a much more suitable location with a better presentation for all of us to see than to accept this alley to do it in. And I really like it. I like where it's gone. I'm very concerned about the site.
I'd like to point out that, and most of you are probably not aware of this, on this particular commission, we have 3 reserved seats. One of them is for an architect that is licensed in the area because of the obvious reasons, because we're dealing with buildings, so he can actually advise on that. And I think there was something about the heights and the widths, if I remember correctly, that you had on that because of that, because it's kind of narrowing it down. But any other commissioners have anything to say?
Sure, I'll go. I'm going to say this. I've been all in on this mural from the start. Since the beginning, I've talked about Eugenia Forts and how I admired the woman and how I'd studied the woman and did a lot of reading about her for something I did with my other job. I have never once not thought this was the right person to honor. Not once. I'm glad now that you've compromised, and now for me, you're all in because you're taking a quote from her. That was my initial first real big problem, was the quote, the very first one. And I was ready to talk about, just changing the quote and going last week, but, my fellow commissioners were like, you know what, let's see what's going on first. Let's get the next step. Let's not go too fast, and that's fine. This quote to me is inspiring. This is one I could look at, and I'm talking about the full quote, not the half quote. I think you need that first line too. That's when I hear her words or read her words, that's inspiring to me. That's something I can look at and say, wow, I can think. It causes me to think. It causes me to think about myself and the legacy that I want to lead. So, or leave, I should say. And then you have her name on it, which wasn't in there at the beginning. The last pictures, or the last thing you sent was her picture, her face as well. I don't think it's needed as long as it's attached to her name. If we're going to honor Eugenia Forts, let's name it. And we did. So I think this mural, to me, is now finally all in on a mural to honor Eugenia Forts, and I'm 100% behind it. I understand Jack's concern, and I do think hiding it between 2 buildings, it's unfortunate, because I do agree. I think this should be in a bigger, better, more seen location so more people can see it and think about it. But I also know this is the presentation you're giving us, and I don't object to it being in the Main Street Historic District. So if this is the location you're giving us, then I will approve it with my one vote. But I do agree with Jack. I wish it could go somewhere bigger and better. But again, I'm for the project.
Thank you.
And I thank you for a little bit of cooperation and making it work. I knew we could. It's just a matter of just whittle it down.
Any other commissioners?
May I comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am Perry Wentworth, and I am not voting tonight. I've been year-round on Cape Cod since 1971. I share a lot of history. Rabbi, nice to see you. A long time. I think we met at the Hyannis Cooperative Bank in the Cape Town Plaza back in probably 78 or 79 when you first walked in to open an account for the synagogue. 77. So I had the pleasure of knowing Joe DeLuz and his fabulous wife. My experience here on the Cape comes from my dad was military. We share that. Mm-hmm. My mother was a business tycoon in Washington, D.C. in the 1960s, a first in her field. What I think that what we don't share is color. That the white slant on things, I think Rabbi said it very well, it's because you don't know what you don't know sometimes. I am so in favor of this. I am absolutely in awe of the efforts you've made. I respect every commissioner on this. They come here with their hearts absolutely willing to do the very best they can for Hyannis. But this is history, and this is Hyannis, and this belongs. I get it. what Jack says. It belongs on a big stage. But if this is your first stage, let's go for your first stage. And you'll get a bigger stage because this is so good. I love this quote. This quote moves me. I know some of you feel this. Sometimes you feel something and your whole body moves. This moves me like that. Margot, you said it earlier. I mean, when you're moved like that, I know there are many, 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 many people. Yes, to your point of there are others that are oblivious to some of the history here. But this is a way to open their eyes and see that it's fabulous and it should be here. So while I wish I could vote tonight, I want you to know that I'm behind it, not just by sitting here at this table. I'm behind it by how I have lived my life, how I've lived in Hyannis, how involved I've been with this community, how I've seen struggles, more from the woman's side and hurdles that happen that way. But I've had the honor to know a lot of the people that have been mentioned in this tonight in these discussions. And I feel that if they could be here right now, they'd be saying, what are you thinking? Let's do this. This is great. So thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say?
Yeah, I just
Commissioner
wanted to,
Crowley.
sorry, just wanted to first of all thank all the speakers tonight for your really inspiring comments. As I said last time, I'm really in love with this piece. Unlike Kevin, I tend to prefer the shorter quote because it's bigger. So as you're walking through that passageway, I really think it grabs you. But that's just my own personal opinion. I love how all of the individual pieces kind of work together to create this, as Perry said, this really kind of got you sort of piece that makes you stop. And I'm sure we'll see a lot of that as people go through the passageway, just stopping and saying, wow, so I'm 1,000% behind it, even though I can't vote.
Any others have comments?
Why did you take the picture of Eugenia off this part?
I think the artist was just trying to accommodate the scope of the quote. Yeah, I think that was just her design decision.
Again, I love the topic. I love the saying. I'm just with Jack. I just don't think it's the right wall. So.
Commissioner Hinckley-Needham, you had a hand up.
I liked the last one that you proposed. I went back and looked at all the videos so I could vote tonight. One of my cousins happened to be watching, and she told me she's watching tonight. She called me up and said, "It's Forts. Stop saying Fortes." And if you were lucky enough, I guess you could call her Jen. Was that her nickname, I guess? My family actually played with the Bell children that came with the reverse freedom, with the freedom fighters. And they stayed in one of the Hinckley McGinn houses when they came. My uncle Eben would fix her boiler, and she'd have soup on the back burner, and we have a lot of her recipes. So I know a lot about her. Now, like today, as I sit here, though, I know this is going to kill you guys, but I'm still concerned about the brightness of the flowers, and they're not like in the scope of the historic district. And that I went back and looked at the video of getting our rules done for I'm looking at you, our rules done for this. Like, should we be voting on something when we don't have rules to do this? And then, like, the next mural is going to be even brighter and louder than this? You know what I mean? Is there going to be a time when we do vote on, or is that squashed? We'll never have rules for murals? Or how many, or how bright they can be?
You're referring to the updated design guidelines. So you've continued that matter to November 25th. You do have existing design guidelines, though, yes, you're correct. They don't go into detail about public art. That's really the whole crux of the matter of updating the design guidelines, is to start capturing a lot of different details that the existing design guidelines don't include. But you do have existing design guidelines. And to that point, I mean, the color chart, for instance, is something that they've looked at and tried to adhere to the greatest extent feasible.
And then I saw in the video that it was going to be a paint by number.
Is that what it's going to be?
No, not really. I think that was the language that the artist was just using to illustrate that there will be an invitation for community members to.
And then she'll fix it after,
to
she said,
contribute
but-
to it. You know, I think she's used that terminology, paint by number, to communicate that it's like a fixed situation. It's not like the art wall, you know, where it's just like, well, whatever you want. But it's just a method for community members to feel engaged in multiple different ways with the project, including the physical implementation of it.
Okay.
And if I could just briefly respond to your concerns about the color
And the
palette.
dots appeared new. They weren't on the last one, were they? The dots?
The dots?
I mean, I know were they?
Oh,
Or maybe it's just
that's
because it's
true.
bigger and brighter.
Here's what she's
Oh,
talking,
they were.
here's what, I think
Maybe-
you're talking about, right,
They were there.
right-hand side.
The little polka dots.
I mean, I think it's great to honor her. I really do.
Are you saying you don't like the white dots?
I don't know.
No, you're not, okay, okay, right.
If I could just respond briefly to your concerns about the color palette, which I
I
understand.
know, the hydrangeas and all that.
But yeah, these are native flora and fauna,
right.
and I
It's-
feel like it would be reasonable to say like, okay, we're not going to paint the like.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's just like going to the next mural and the next mural, you know. That's just my comment. It is wonderful, and I like the quote.
Okay.
Which quote do you like better?
You know, I think that I kind of like the longer one. That's my personal opinion, and I'm actually not the visual artist on our team, and so, but I appreciate having the context around why Miss Forts did the things that she did, and I think that, you know, in as much as you can succinctly encompass what a person did in their life, which is not an easy task to do. I think that this is pretty representative of her work around social justice in our community.
If I may, this is where I think the QR code or the sign or whatever is important, because I did like the context of the question she was asked about her legacy, and that's why, to me, the longer quote is better, because she's saying, I've only done what I felt I had to do. And I think that matches the question she was asked, so that's why I like the longer quote better. Just my opinion.
I have a few comments, but I always like to go last. Commissioner Cronin.
Again, I want to thank the speakers for coming in and presenting the backgrounds and your support of this. What I just want to say is that the subject matter has never been at issue here. Ms. Forts has always been, actually, we had more information on Ms. Forts at the beginning. If you go back to that first video, we had more information about her, and we understood what this message was trying to do. And I just think I'm with a couple of our commissioners here, is that it should be in a more prominent position of what the message you're trying to get out there and across. And we don't have, we need to have more, whether you like it or not, we do need to have more of a say and more structure in with the historic district and how many murals there are. There's a lot of representation, as you clearly state, that we do have a diverse community here. It's a huge community here, and we want to make sure that everyone is being able to be represented. And this is so important that I think the message that you're trying to get across is very important. And I just think that we offered you or gave you some ideas of a alternative location, but you said that wasn't cost effective and it was more cumbersome with having to go through the regulations it's because it was a municipal property. You need to go through quotes and things like that. One of the suggestions was the youth center, which is a huge central location down here in Hyannis, or other locations that you could possibly use to get your message out. So I would just say that it's never been about Ms. Forts. It's always been how do we incorporate this and make sure that everyone is included as we're starting to go through this process and develop a program for the murals within the Hyannis Historic Main Street. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Any others for public comment before I speak?
Can I add a sentence to what I spoke about? Thank you.
I have no objection. Any of the other commissioners does not? if it's, yeah, just a quick addition.
I remain Harold Robinson.
Are you certain?
Longer question than you want an answer to. We have an expression in the military: don't let the perfect be the mortal enemy of the good enough. And right now, this is what you have. It's good enough for right now. And to have the whole project die on the vine because it could have been better is the risk you would otherwise take. Although, I have to tell you, Jack, when you said what you said, you were echoing my wife, who said, tell him it needs to be in a better place. I'll stop there.
I mean, if someone wants to help us secure another minimum building owner.
Okay.
And I think that would be my comment as well, that like just finding a wall to put a big mural on is not like a simple task. It's not like buying another brand of cereal. Like, this is an extremely involved task. We've had an extremely involved process to secure the wall that we do have. And yeah, I mean, there are any number of beautiful pieces of big and beautiful prominent public art we'd love to see. We'd love to see a program around public art officially developed for this community. We'd love to be part of that process. But, you know, we have to begin somewhere. And I think we are really proud of what we have accomplished vis-a-vis this mural so far, and we'll be very proud to see it cross the finish line. You know, the Arts and Justice Collective is the collaborative entity that's producing this. We didn't exist 3 years ago. 5 years ago, when the Cordial Eye was founded, we had a budget of like $4,000. And now we're getting regional money to put public art in our community. And we have to start somewhere. I really agree that we have to start somewhere. And I don't think there'll be any harm caused with starting in a place that perhaps is not perfect, but is also, I think, not exactly the topic at hand. You know, it's, yeah.
Planning for maintenance of that area. For instance, when the paint starts to peel and starts to look not like art much anymore.
You know, mural maintenance is not my area of expertise, so I don't know if Anastasia could sign in, and or you're signed in already, but speak a little bit to the maintenance process.
So part of why we opted to put this mural on polytab is because that will prevent much of the peeling that you see in older murals. That's a best practice that has come around in mural work. But I have also studied with a person in my visual art background, studied with a man who was on the board of SPARK, which is an organization that's charged with caring for Judith Baca's mural along the reservoir in Los Angeles, and they have a regular, every year, it's like the whole timeline of the history of Los Angeles, and it's like miles long. Don't worry, we don't have walls that big. I'm not going to be suggesting that. But anyways, they have. We can start fundraising for this. They have Bubble Day, so every year they wash it because, you know, the air quality in Los Angeles could leave something to be desired. They have Bubble Day, so they wash the mural every year, and then they recoat it with, you know, a protective spray. But I don't think it would need to be done every year here. But that would be gloriously fun for all of us to get to maintain it together. But yes, anyways, the short part of that is that the materials that we've designed this with will prevent most of those maintenance concerns in the first place.
Are you indicating you had something else to say? You look like you were there. I wasn't sure if this meant.
Yes, I think it would.
Okay.
May I?
Yes, just very briefly. Yeah.
Sure. Do you need me to sign in?
No, you've already signed in.
No, you haven't.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, I'm
No.
sorry. I thought you had.
Let me just quickly do this.
In that case, since you have not spoken before, if Commissioner Clark, would you mind doing the 3-minute timer, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So By the way, so I'm here for another matter
And your
entirely.
name, please?
Sorry, my name is Douglas Caulfels, and I'm
Thank you,
here
Commissioner
for another matter, which is the library, public library. And it was really inspiring to sit here and listen to all this discussion. And in so doing, I researched Eugenia, who I was not familiar with. And looking at her history, she was a 40-year board member of the Hyannis Public Library. And although I cannot be a spokesperson for the library, and I don't think this should interrupt and change the way that you think about your vote, I would encourage, given the library director that we know and have worked with for the last 4 years, you to consider speaking with her. She's an incredible advocate of the arts, and it's an opportunity to not only connect this incredible legacy to something that she was involved with and clearly passionate about. Libraries are the one remaining truly diverse civic institutions that we have in our communities anymore. And if there's any place where this kind of awareness and learning and diversity should be expressed, to me, it's someplace like that. And I would encourage you
He's behind the 8 ball, isn't he?
encourage you to have that conversation.
There's a mural on the library.
And it's community art wall is our project.
Got it. So, but I'm saying that building, that building is likely to go away.
Right.
And so there will be another canvas to consider. And so I just offer that as something to think about. So, thank you.
One at a time, please.
If I may, that Douglas just threw a wrench in things there.
That's why I said one at a time, please. Yes.
But I can't be a spokesperson for the library.
Right.
I'm the architect. So.
That is a separate application. We're dealing with this one right now, okay? All right. I'm going to say a few things. I must admit, I had some serious reservations about this when it first came to us. Part of it is because when I saw the first slogan you had, I was quite alarmed, because having been a newspaper editor, senior newspaper editor and editorial manager, I recognized it. Couldn't quite place it, but I was glad we continued it because I wanted to research it. That's with Christianopoulos. So I was concerned about the maintenance. I think you've addressed that. It is, as I said before, we are not political. We are a historical commission. That's why I read the purview. That's what we are tasked to do, and that's what we have agreed to do. Some of the quotes that were recently in a local paper, when I was editing another paper, it was always something that if you put quotation marks, it's supposed to be what they actually said. I think every member of this commission has tried very, very hard. We like art. They also indicated that none of the commissioners were experts, but I don't think any of us, correct me if I'm wrong, was actually asked if we were experts in the field. So it was not quite appropriate. I'm ashamed to admit that I did not know the history of Ms. Forts. I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You
I
are.
was previously one of those mispronouncing it, as I think Commissioner Matthews was. Were you or weren't you?
No, I've known Forts for a long time.
Okay, excellent. You should have corrected me. But
I didn't want to be rude.
okay, that's right. I am quite impressed with her history. She has contributed a lot. There's no doubt about it. I will also say, Commissioner Matthews, that I actually preferred the quote that you put forth last time. Do what your heart tells you is right, because I personally find that all-inclusive of an entire community, and it's unifying, I personally think, in that. I suppose if the commission doesn't want to go with something like that, I don't know how I'm going to. I never decide until we start going through the vote. I'm purposely. I do appreciate your changing it, however. That is my part, except for something whenever it does come to a motion. So anything else that commissioners would like to say?
I just wanted to raise a point, and it's the reason I brought up the question at the beginning of the meeting. I thought, and I could be wrong, that we had consensus as a group as to the design, but it was Kevin who suggested a number of particular quotes to look at. I could be totally wrong in this, so my only concern is I don't want applicants to feel that we may be moving the goalposts on them. But I could have totally misremembered that. I misremember everything. So.
I verified it today as well,
Okay.
because I wanted to I thought that question might
Yeah.
come up. And it was that, and then I meant when I was told, no, that it's not, we had actually agreed to continue it, but it was so that we could then consider changing the quote. I think we were all pretty unified that we were pretty challenged by the quotes.
There was also discussion on being able to change with some more inclusionary of the community in there, and there was a no on that.
Yes, that is correct.
And discussion about whether we would vote to approve the mural, but not the quote at that time, and that was not furthered. And we got
That's correct. That was me. I'd made that motion, then let's just approve the mural and change the
Yeah.
quote. But my fellow commissioners thought that that wasn't the right way to go. Let's just move everything and then just, start from scratch on that particular thing.
I'll ask staff to confirm that. Is that right? We have got it right?
Yes, that's accurate. No decision was formally rendered. It was continued to this evening.
But thank you. I thought that might come up. That's why I wanted to verify it before we came. Okay. Any last public comment before I close public comment? Okay. I am closing public comment. Commissioners, anything further to say? All right. So I want to remind everyone that the people who are voting tonight will be myself, Commissioner Doherty, Commissioner Kay, Commissioner Cronin, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Matthews, and Commissioner Hickman from Mullen Inn. Does anyone need an explanation by what that means, Mullen Inn? Are you good? Nope? Okay. And just make sure that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so that's, public comment is closed. Rather than going down one side and the other, I'm going to bounce around a little bit for yays and nays. Would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the findings?
Sure, I will do that. I move that the commission find this application at 436 Main Street in Hyannis for the Eugenia Forts mural be compatible with preservation and protection of the district.
And was there anything else pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I guess we should decide that. Again, I like the longer quote, but we can just take a vote on the quote if we want to go from there.
Yeah. You want to go? Well, okay. You want to go with the longer quote, please? Okay.
But I mean, if you want to let's take a roundtable vote so we can make sure we're all on the same page.
Jim,
Justin, real quick, maybe asking the applicant which one they want to
That's a good.
proceed
Well, I think
with.
you already stated which one you preferred.
Yeah, I think we generally prefer the longer one.
Yeah. Okay, so it's on the longer quote. Let me remind people what that is, and thank you for stepping in and reminding me of that.
Yes, thank you.
The longer one is, I don't have the full thing on this. I've only done what I felt I had to do. She had funny eyes on there. There we go. 'Twas me and my conscience and my heart, and that's Eugenia Forts.
And I have one more thing. Also, one stipulation is getting a letter from the abutter of the mural, who actually has the alley on his property, allowing them to use the alley for the project.
Thank you. I had that here as well, a butter. Because they're doing some renovations there as well.
Correct.
All right, so let me just go down. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing. Me. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Was there a second on that?
Second.
Again.
No, she cannot vote.
Sorry.
It was Kevin Matthews. We need a second. Who can vote?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Doherty. All right. This is on the findings. Commissioner Doherty.
Abstain.
Commissioner Kay.
I abstain.
Commissioner Cronin.
Abstain.
Commissioner Clark.
I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Matthews.
I'm going to say aye.
Whoever missed, Commissioner Hinckley Needham.
Can I do it with a,
That means
with a no more murals after this until we get rules in place?
Yeah, and you can't.
All right, abstain
You
then.
can't impose that. I'm going to actually say abstain on that as well. And this is the first time in our history that we've ever had that. However, but we can do that motion on the findings failed. Might I suggest we do a motion on the findings for the shorter one? Which, in my opinion, if it's going to be there, it has, I went there tonight just to make sure. It's a very tiny space, as Commissioner Kay had verified. It would be seen more. But that's my opinion.
Can I just, Chair, can I just ask?
Absolutely.
We just went through the one with the longer one. Do you think it's, are you,
It didn't pass for the findings, so we can go on to the other one.
oh, we have to do both?
Yeah, well, there's two proposed. Are you saying you don't want the shorter one?
I thought they said they
Fine with
didn't.
either of these quotes?
Just point of order, though.
I thought they said they didn't.
We had a number of abstentions, and the only vote that either was yay or nay was yay. So what are the rules of order in that situation?
No matter the end result of the vote needs 4 yeas to pass, so a majority of a full commission, so 4 yeses to pass.
I agree with that.
Okay, I was unaware.
So it's the last half of the quote, just to let people know. "'Twas me and my conscience and my heart" by Eugenia Forts. All right, would someone like to make a motion on the findings?
I will.
Then I'll speak at once. Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Where do I go? I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the district, with the shorter quote and the approval of the next door neighbor.
430, 436
Thank
Main
you.
Street.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, with regard to a mural, is there a second?
I'll say second.
Okay, so let's go down again. Commissioner Doherty?
Abstain.
Commissioner Cronin?
Abstain.
Commissioner Clark?
Abstain.
Commissioner Kay?
I abstain.
Commissioner Matthews?
I'll say aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Aye.
I hate being the last.
Did you vote?
I haven't left anyone out besides me, have I?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. I will say aye, but it still doesn't carry, unfortunately. I appreciate your making it shorter. And also making it more inclusive. Let's see, would anyone feel better with the other quote?
Let's not play out of this. It's not going to matter what quote you put. Let's be honest. We got to read the room. We know how it's going to be here, so.
Okay.
We're really sad about this, and a lot of community members are going to be affected by what happened here this evening. And in the spirit of Eugenia Forts, who continued to do what her heart told her to do, we will continue on with this work of justice in our community. And I hope that if you commissioners who say that you really support this idea, but it's just not the right place. I hope that we'll see you in our office sometime over the next few weeks to strategize with us as community members as to where the more appropriate place for this mural is to go. I hope that you will leverage your personal connections to buildings and access to spaces to help us to bring this forward in another location in the community. And, you know, I think then myself and the folks that we represent will believe the words that you say, but know that they're empty until that action is behind them. We thank you for your time and your listening. And good evening.
Good evening.
Are you staying for
The library?
Library one?
No.
Okay. All right.
So vote for when can we do that? For the rules?
Continued it to November 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And for your presentations. All right. Does anyone want a 5-minute break, or are you okay to carry on next one?
Oh, all set?
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, so,
We'll take a break.
That's it.
was that a yes or a no?
I'm fine.
No. Let's go.
Let's go.
That's good, okay. It's a couple hours, so I wanted to make sure people were okay. All right. This is a discussion on the Hyannis Public Library renovations, 401 Main Street. You're up again.
Yeah.
Now we're old friends.
Just real quickly, if I may, just to clarify, what's before you this evening, Hyannis Public Library, a request for an informal discussion on the matter, just to kind of get a sense of if they're moving in the right direction. No votes are to be made this evening. It's not a hearing. Just, again, an informal discussion.
Oh, thank you for that.
Just an informal discussion.
Informal discussion.
And I will say, sometimes we've had, it's not unusual to have informal discussions, but we have had some people who have had informal discussions with us in the past, not yourself, of course, but then they kind of ask for a vote if we would approve it if it came before us. That, just to clarify, we won't be voting. But anyway, and before we start, I want to tell you I'm very impressed with the packet that we have before us.
Oh, thank you. Did you also receive a digital version that can go up on the screen?
I got a link, but it would not open. I told her to bring a flash drive.
Yes. Can you give us one moment to, I think it may be easier to speak to?
Oh,
Oh, where do we put it?
Should be on the side.
left side, isn't it? The right side?
Oh,
Jim, which side? Oh, it goes in here.
The monitor?
It goes in here.
Sorry. I think you have another one.
All right. We have the same.
Find the orifice.
I was like, where's that going?
No room for mirror on this one.
Yeah.
I hope.
I haven't seen one that lights up before. I like that. Very Halloween color.
Job. This looks nice.
Thank you.
I'm going to open up the PowerPoint.
Is that open? Great. And I can pull that from here, I presume.
I just got it today, Jim, or I would go.
Oh, no.
Because I couldn't open the link.
Is it on?
Oh, good question. It is now.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. My name is Douglas Caulfels. I'm partner with Union Studio Architecture Community Design. We're a Providence-based architecture practice, but we've been, over the years, for many years, working in and around the Cape, including a few projects I'm sure you're familiar with, including Sea Captain's Row and the rehab of 255 Main Street, which we were before you to talk about back at that time. I'm here tonight with Kara Babcock, who's an associate principal with us and is the project architect for the library. And she would otherwise be giving this presentation this evening, but she's not feeling terribly well, and so you get me instead. So I may be far less eloquent, but I'll try to get through it in a way that hopefully will paint the picture of where we're headed. Thank you for agreeing to do an informal discussion, as Mr. Cuthbert suggested. We're just trying to let you know how we're approaching the project, get some feedback from you, and also hear from you what additional information and things you would like to see from us when we do come back for a formal presentation and hearing with you. So we've been working with the library since around 2020, maybe a little bit before. There had been a previous design that they had commissioned, and it was costly as well as not aesthetically quite what they were looking for, and so they found us and asked us to help discuss with them some opportunities for the library, and we've been working with them since to try to come to something that would work both to meet their budget and hopefully to be more appropriate for the location in Hyannis. As I'm sure you're familiar with, the existing library is made up of two historic structures that were built over time. The Hinckley Library, the original, was built in 1830, and the Eagleston addition in 1938. And then in the 70s, the Twombly addition was added to the back. And this is really the subject of the sort of work and the way that and the sort of ask in terms of the design. So the Twombly building, unfortunately, over the years has not fared well. The mechanical systems aren't terribly effective any longer. The building was designed at a time where energy efficiency and those kinds of things were not of high concern. And you can see that some of the windows and things, particularly the skylights that are up here that were originally glazed, are now wall and filled in. The building is not performing well as just a structure, but it also, in terms of the way the library works, it's a split-level structure in there. It's hard for them to staff, to monitor well. And so we began talking with them about a solution where we would replace the Twombly with a new addition, preserving the two historic structures up front and adding on to them in the rear. And so these are just some photos of the interior and some of the research and work that we had done. As I said, the mechanical systems and building assemblies are outdated and not terribly energy efficient. The split-level configuration is challenging, and in particular, the basement area is not terribly well lit. It happens to be the children's library, which is actually the place that you want to be sort of bright and vibrant and connected ideally to the outdoors. And they've built recently the Play Oasis back there, which ideally would be a place where children's programming could spill out onto in nice days. And so the basement is not, in addition to it not being easy to sort of monitor, it's also not great for a children's library. We've done a number of libraries over the years, and ideally you want those spaces to be bright and vibrant. And so again, this is sort of the building in question. And as we looked back at the history and this notion that the existing library, at least the historic portions of it, was this sort of addition of buildings over time, there's a sort of pattern of that historically that I don't know if you're familiar with. There's a book, a famous book called Big House, Little House, Back House, Barn, and it's a notion about buildings in New England in particular, and this sort of growth over time where there might be the primary house that somebody built, and then when they had the means, they might have built an addition for the family to stay in, and then there may have been another sort of addition over time, and then the barn in the back, and this is the way that sort of the homestead grew over time. And it struck us that in a way the library began that pattern at some time in its history, and for us to think about a way that we might think about a design that would extend that pattern that had already been begun and present in the two existing historic buildings, and to think about an architecture that would sort of build off of that. And so that was sort of our thinking as we began contemplating a way to imagine an addition to the library that would accomplish that. And at the same time, we understand, and it is relevant, I think, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the National Historic Standards. Often, when you make an addition, they want to see you make an addition to an historic building. You want it to be highly contrasting, and often that leads to architecture that sometimes is exceptionally modern to draw that contrast between the original historic structure and what you're proposing. And I think both your standards and our own personal philosophy is such that you don't have to go necessarily to those extremes in order to build an addition that preserves the integrity of the original historic structures, and that you can do so with something that's contemporary, but it's contextual. It borrows from the materials, the forms, the details, the history, the patterns of architecture that we see in our communities and in our region. And so that's sort of the philosophy that we are taking as we thought about this design for the library. And so these are just some images of barns, shingle structures in the lower right, for example, where there's a shingle addition on the back of a clearly historic building that doesn't have to resort to being a glass and steel building in order for it to be contrasting and can still be sympathetic with the existing structure. And so this is just a floor plan that, and I'm going to tab back for a moment. You can see this sort of sketch that we did very early on to imagine what that might feel like. This is the floor plan that we have at the moment, and I won't go into it, but this is the existing Hinckley building. This is the Eagleston. This, if you in current scenario, there's a glass sort of connector that comes across from the Twombly wing that comes across the front of the Eagleston, and so we're obviously redesigning everything from the Eagleston back. This idea that there is sort of the next building here, a connector in between, and a barn in the back, and you'll see that in the elevation. And the way that we thought about this is that we clearly have the historic headpieces here, and then as we progress through and make our way towards the children's wing, it gets more, I will say, playful, more whimsical, right? It becomes something that we try to hew a little bit closer to something more historically appropriate, closer to the historic, original buildings, and then things that might be a little bit more playful as you get to the back end. Ideally, that's something nice that, suggests the fact that this is a children's wing once you get closer to the play oasis.
Anyone's view? You all right? Okay.
So this is the sketch of where we sort of conceptually are at the moment with the two historic buildings here, and you can see them in the original elevation down below. This being the Twombly building, which is very clearly a 1970s sort of brick modern addition. And we're suggesting a replacement of that does begin to suggest an assemblage of buildings that connect off of the back of the historic structures, leading to a sort of a children's barn that, in our way of thinking, begins to also sort of echo the red barn that's at the other side of the green on the back of the parking lot, and that there's something kind of nice about that connection, although our suggestion is that barn might be a little bit more of a contemporary barn, a little more glassy, a little more light-filled, that kind of thing. These are just some quick 3D images that we've put together. Again, this is conceptual, this is schematic design.
Beautiful.
And the thought here being that we understand that this is the point where the building is connecting to the library, and that, to think about that similar to the way that we think about this, that this might have it's a familiar material, but it's going to be rendered in a way that's clearly distinct from certainly the historic shingle and the brick of the existing historic structures that are there. And so there's just a couple of images here that look at this from a couple of different viewpoints. The gray box in the corner is just that we're looking over the roof of the adjacent building, and that happens to be in our 3D model, and that's why that little gray box is there. But and this is a view similar to the view below of the existing Twombly, with the new library the new library addition approach in the same position. And I think, at least for our way of thinking, that seems a much more familiar and appropriate sort of scale and character of architecture than what's there currently.
Quick question: is that a big barn door there that slides over, or is that those windows there next to it?
So this is right. This is glass.
Okay.
So it's the impression that you had a rolling barn door that had been filled in with glazing. And again, this will likely evolve, as we get through the details. But the intent this is really the intent and the approach that we've taken and shared with the library, and they seem happy with the direction that's going. But of course, we didn't want to get too far ahead of.
Can you help me with the orientation, north, south, east, west?
Yes, so, well,
Or
that's a good
possibly, if
question.
you can say where the roads
So,
are on which
Main
side.
Street, Main Street is here. This is the driveway that comes in that leads us to the parking lot here, right along here. And this is, there's the existing Twombly, right, is here with the Play Oasis, which is that garden back here. That's
Thank you.
very much in the same orientation, if that makes sense.
Good green space, too.
The playground's going to stay.
The playground's going to stay. We will remove it for construction. We will remove all the pieces from it, finish construction, then it will all get replaced and put back.
When can you start?
That's an excellent question.
People that have come before us.
Is that one roof there, a standing seam metal roof,
You already crossed it.
right next to the barn?
It looks like it.
Am I allowed to say
Where are you
yes?
gonna put the mural?
Oh, yes, yes.
You know,
He wants to know which one you like the best.
the roof selection here are just hysterical. They're great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It does. Almost looks like a mountain scene.
Are they reflective at all, or?
No,
They look like they
a
might
metal
be a
roof?
bit, yeah.
They can be if it's natural, left to natural, but you wouldn't do that here because you're close to the water, so
That's what I was
it
wondering.
would be sort of a marine painted finish that would, be resilient to sort of, salt water and that kind of thing. You have to be careful about that because if it's natural, it can corrode, unless you go to like copper, but I don't
And
think
historical colors,
we can
right?
afford that. Yes. And we just wanted to, I don't know, I'm sure you're all familiar, but there is apparently a master plan has been done for the, the sort of your central green, in front of the town hall, but then it also leads over to a suggestion apparently that someone has done, and I'm not, and you can speak to this perhaps more, Carol, where this stands in the process, but we were given this when we came to meet with the town, and they said, hey, we're beginning to think about some of these things where there may not be a connection through here any longer from Main Street past the library. Oops. Yeah. But, and
That's
there's this
great.
notion that there's a library, art space, and outdoor activity center here that would be a really wonderful sort of extension of the children's library if that ended up being what was there. And so I think there's something nice about what the town's already imagining happening here over time, and the library that may accrue here in the not-too-distant future.
Wow. Phew.
And I just wanted to mention one other item, and I'm just going to go back quickly. Just from Main Street, which I know is a significant part of your purview, the idea too is that these buildings are stepped back and behind the existing historic structure. So when you're looking at it from Main Street, it's sort of stepped a little bit behind. And on this side, because of the tree plantings and things that are here, this is a little bit more occluded, but it also is very similar to where the existing Twombly sits right now. This footprint is very, very similar to where the existing building is currently, so that hasn't really changed much in terms of its impression from the Main Street. So that's where we are, and I think we just wanted to be sure there wasn't anything in the approach that we were taking that didn't resonate, and more importantly, and just as importantly, when we do come back, is there information beyond what we presented already that would be important in terms of materials and things like this?
Using on the outside.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Right. So
That'll
that's
have to bring.
Yeah, so I think those are the.
Main Street view again?
Well, all I have from the Main Street is the plan. I don't have a view from Main Street. This is about as
That's a good
close
one
as
right
we
there.
get.
That's pretty close.
But we could generate one when we come back.
To see that, it's important that those two historics are there. That's always been the challenge.
Yes.
From the beginning. I was on that first board in 2020. It was a challenge.
Yes, yeah.
So that extra green space would be shutting down that driveway from Main Street in. That's where you get that extra green space, correct?
Correct. So this,
Okay.
what's beginning to be suggested right here, right?
All right.
Yeah,
is-
they closed that off.
And that's, right, that's hopeful thinking that the town, it does get there, but in any case.
Comfort.
Are you going to have a full basement under this whole structure?
No.
That's a good question.
So you're just going to do some basement?
So there's.
Where are your mechanicals?
So there's an existing basement underneath the Eagleston. And so the majority of the mechanicals will live under that basement, as well as there is a the way the roofs are configured, pinned between these two is a flat roof over this portion of the library.
So you got
We can put mechanicals.
You got a well, a
there.
mechanic well, a
Yes.
mechanical well.
So this, and that can slope all the way back, so we can put mechanicals here that serve the majority of this, and then the new mechanicals here will serve the remainder of the historic.
So the ones that are going to be on the roof, are those going to be visible from the ground, or will those be somehow shielded so they're?
You can't see them from here because there's a peaked roof here, there's a peaked roof here, and there's a peaked roof here. So these are sort of in between all these roofs, so unless, there's no place from the public way, you'd be able to
It
see
could be in a
mechanicals.
helicopter to see
Yeah,
the.
that's right. Or perhaps on a ladder in this person's property.
Are you doing any renovations to the two older structures?
So we are doing a full renovation to, and you can sort of see it here, we're doing a full renovation to the Eagleston, the interior. I mean, and when I may say full renovation, there's significant historic character to the interior of those, so I think it's refreshing, painting, et cetera. And then there's a little bit of partition reconfiguration in here in the right locations. There is, I think, a thought to do some additional renovations in the Hinckley building down the road, but there's a grant apparently that's associated with that, so it's not part of this project at the moment. There will be some renovations to this portion of the Hinckley building to provide an accessible entrance, because in the interim, while this is happening, the library intends to use all of this as the library, function as the library until they can move back in here, and so there needs to be accessibility there, so we'll create a small entrance in that location. So there's a small renovation there as well. Yeah, so that's where we are.
So I liked Commissioner Hinckley Needham's question about the lighting, but you say that you haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I think you're sort of seeing where we are. So we haven't selected those yet, but we know that that's something that we'd want to bring when we do, if there are any lights that are attached to the exterior, as well as I imagine, I don't think we're planning any pole lights or street lights that are, because that's.
What's your timeline?
Ideally, we're beginning construction sometime next year.
2025.
So we're beginning, we'd like to begin our construction documents and be working on those over the next 3 or 4 months. And then there will be probably a period of time for permitting, as well as some additional fundraising and things like that, construction sometime in 2025. And then that will probably be a 12 to 14 month construction schedule.
That's a great start. I mean, it looks fantastic.
Yes, it does.
Really does.
So-
Make sure you show that when you're fundraising, because that's going to bring us some more money.
So, does he have access to our guidelines and also the proposed guidelines?
We have your current guidelines
Okay.
and have studied those. I don't know as we have.
With regard to lighting and that, might be worth showing what we,
Yeah.
revamping them.
We have a good relationship with Union Studios, so we can share the most up-to-date stuff with them.
Great, thank you.
And Jen, the Hinckley building, is that your family?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Don't know if Aura is related. Aura Hinckley.
Sorry, and I realize I did not write my name very clearly, so I'm going to read it again.
Okay, obviously, we are not voting on this.
Nope.
But is there any other response? Good presentation, by the way.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're
Beautiful.
doing.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's night and day. It's-
You should leave your cards so that we can give them out though.
You can talk to Jim. Well, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you
for coming in.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening, and sorry we kept it a little later than normal.
That's okay, thank you.
Your colleague, thank you for coming even though you weren't feeling well.
Have a cold, didn't want to hear the voice, so.
Hope you feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, and keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you.
What was it?
Oh.
I know.
Yes.
Oh, I was just going to say, the application takes a little bit of time because they meet
Yes.
twice a month and, but just
Yeah.
Kara can email me and I'll give her the particulars.
Okay,
We are very great staff, so,
thank you. All right.
all right.
Appreciate it.
Have a great evening. Drive carefully. It looks dark out there.
It's
dark out there, you know, not even, whatever. So there we go on the public library. Any matters not reasonably, Jack, did you have something that was matters not reasonably? Somebody had mentioned to me they might want to say something, or, nope, no? Matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Somebody had mentioned they might have something, but I can't remember who it was. Nope, okay. So we're past that. Okay, approval of the October 2nd,
No, I'm just waiting for my colleague.
Oh, right, thank you very much. Approval of the October 2nd, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Who was, oh, it doesn't matter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? I think this is the first time, I mean, I've been on this for about 9 years. I don't think I've ever seen this many abstentions. So maybe we did make history, who knows? The next HHDC meeting is scheduled for November 6th and November 20th. Anyone have anything else they want to bring up?
No.
Everyone, thank you for coming. You did a great job tonight. We don't always have the super simple ones. This was difficult, and your efforts are very much appreciated, and your feelings and considerations very much respected. Did our town council liaison have anything that you wanted to share or advise us of?
I don't want to read the newspaper tomorrow, that's for sure.
You're right, nobody does.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay, so, motion,
I have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
Are we going into that meeting, like blind, or are we going to talk about like the new mural guidelines? Or we just go into that meeting?
Right, so at the last meeting, or at the 2 meetings ago, I think it was,
Yeah.
This commission discussed the working group to continue that discussion. So
working group.
they are scheduling, nailing down a date, so I believe there's
You said-
2 to 3 members here
Yeah.
that are on that.
and you sent an
Yeah, I sent-
email, and I said I could do either date, have it, and you had another one in my inbox that I haven't read yet. Is it decided yet?
I believe we're still working on that date.
Okay.
but
Either, well,
hopefully
actually,
decided shortly.
have you heard from all of us on here yet?
Yes, everybody from this group.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll adjust to whatever the majority works. So either date's fine with me. So, and then after we try to amend what was discussed and come up with something, then we go before the whole group. Okay. So, motion for adjournment. Nods don't do it. Somebody
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Okay. Thanks.